Here in Hamilton, obviously after yesterday's press conference with Nigel Farage, in which he accused you of introducing sectarianism into Scotland, do you consider this claim to be either racist or Islamophobic?
Actually, it's for anyone that knows the history of Scotland and the history of the west of Scotland, for Nigel Farage to claim that a guy that was born in 1983 brought sectarianism to Scotland demonstrates how little he knows about Scotland, how little he knows about the west of Scotland. The reality is, this is just a pathetic little man hungry for attention, trying to bring his brand of divisive politics and hate into Scotland. And I'm utterly convinced that the people of Scotland will reject him because they'll see through him for what he actually is. And let's not forget, this isn't some kind of great champion for working people in the country. This is the guy that used to be the president of the Margaret Thatcher Appreciation Society, now somehow pretending he's on the side of working class communities here in Scotland. While I was working in Scotland's NHS in one of the most deprived areas in the country, he was on the Brussels gravy train. While I'm trying to change our NHS and bring it into the 21st century, he wants to privatise our NHS. This guy's got no interest in anything other than himself and his own publicity, and that's why the people of Scotland will utterly reject him.
Similarly, I want to read you the end of your statement yesterday responding to Nigel Farage's claims. You said, Nigel Farage is a poisonous man who doesn't understand Scotland, doesn't care about Scotland, and that's why Scotland will reject him. But do you accept there is a chance, and according to some reports, a very good chance, that Reform could beat you here, and that you might regret that statement?
Well, this seat is between ourselves and the SNP. Only Davy Russell can beat the SNP in this constituency in Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse. But let's go back to Nigel Farage for a second. He thinks Hamilton is some kind of show in the West End of London. He's got no idea where we are here. I've been here most days of the week. He has no idea where it is. So I suggest that he asks his chauffeur to put Hamilton into Google Maps. He comes up anytime, any place, in any town hall in the constituency. He can challenge me on my views. I'll challenge him on his views. And he will see that the people of Scotland will utterly reject him.
Do you think the fact Reform has put thousands of pounds into that advert, an advert which Labour says is racist, that shows that they think that would work, that sort of poison you're talking about will work on the people of Hamilton?
Well, look, they'll have to answer for their own campaign techniques. They can debate with me on any issue they like, but they have deliberately chosen to come up with a fake quote that I've never said to try and play their own brand of politics. I think it demonstrates actually how little and pathetic Nigel Farage and his team are.
You've invited Nigel Farage up to Scotland to debate you. Do you think that's a bit rich, considering your candidate has ducked interviews on GMS and on the STV debate?
Well, you've just spoken to our candidate, and journalists spoke to him just now. He's speaking to STV later on today. He's been speaking to journalists before. He'll be speaking to journalists in the future in this campaign too. But the most important people he's speaking to is the people of Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse, the people that he calls his own friends and neighbours, because of all the candidates, he's the only one that actually lives here, and he's the only one that can beat the SNP.
You were on GMS today. Why wasn't your candidate?
Well, I was invited onto GMS. I went on GMS to talk about the advert, and that was the interview, and I encourage people to listen back to it.
What about earlier this week when all the other candidates were on?
Well, as I say, Davy's spoken to journalists today. You were one of them speaking to Davy. He's speaking to STV News later on today. He's spoken to journalists before in this campaign. He'll be speaking to journalists in the coming days. But the most important people he has to speak to is the people of Hamilton, Larkhall and Stonehouse, his neighbours, his friend, his community, because he's from here, he's for here, and only he can beat the SNP.
We're talking about Nigel Farage, but isn't it Keir Starmer who's scuppered your candidate's chances of winning? Things like the winter fuel payment, things like the two-child cap, things Nigel Farage said he would overturn if he was Prime Minister. Aren't you being outflanked on the left by even Reform?
Well, first thing is, we will reinstate the winter fuel payment. I've said that for many months now, and it's good that the Prime Minister is moving on that in terms of the issue in England and Wales. I've always said I want to see, as fast as we can, movement on the two-child benefit cap, and if there's progress on that, that would be very much welcomed. But let's stop pretending that Nigel Farage actually cares about these issues. This guy doesn't believe in anything apart from himself. He doesn't care about working people. He doesn't care about working class communities. All he cares about is his own brand of politics. And that's why people here will reject him, people across the country will reject him, and I'm focused on changing our country. He wants to divide it. And that's the big thing. I'm standing to be First Minister of Scotland. I'm standing to form a government next year. He can't do that. He's not interested in that. And that's what I'm going to focus on.